Do we get it?
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of our Best Ball live stream hosted by Drafters every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Joey and I, we jumped into this one right in time. We were the 11th team to join the draft, so this one is going to be kicking off in just a second. And Joey, here we are picking at the 11 spot. I just did an NFFC draft with our friend Jeff Bell on Monday night. It was his birthday. Happy belated birthday, Jeff. And we, the way it works over on NFFC is you get to pick where you want to draft. 12th spot was our number one choice. 11th spot was our number two choice. And we got the 11th spot. A little bit different here because you don't have the third round reversal. But still, man, I feel like you could just stack so much value with these back two picks. Brian Thomas Jr., Devon Achane, so many guys to pick from here. So absolutely. I'm pretty happy with how this one turned out. But typically what we like to do before going live is have a little pre-show chatter, talk about some strategy and whatnot. I saw that there were 11 of 12 in this room, so we just hopped right in. And Joey, we are going into this one as blind as possible.
But I think that's okay. I think you and I have both done enough drafts this off season or draft season to kind of come up with not necessarily strategy, but know what we want to do. I had a draft this past weekend where I had the number one overall pick, and it's the first time I picked on the front end of a draft. Hated my team. Just absolutely hated it.
You feel really good after the first pick. You're like, yeah, Jamar Chase. And then you start getting through the rest of it, and you're like, yeah. I will say at the 2-3 turn, you can usually still get some pretty solid value there. It does feel like it starts to dry up about halfway through round 3. So the nice thing, I always like the first two picks that I can get when I'm picking from the back end of the round 1. But when I get into round 3 and 4 at that turn, it feels like you miss a little bit of a tier drop off. Every once in a while, you'll get lucky, and a Chase Brown or James Cook could fall to you or something like that. But let's go ahead. We can just look at the ADP right now. So we're going to be picking 35th with that next pick, or with the next two picks, I should say. So when you get down to 35, you can get lucky, and Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen might be able to fall. Kyron Williams might get moved up a little bit higher. Jackson Smith-Njigba and George Kittle are decent targets there, but you're missing out on the guys up here, the Omarion Hamptons, the Josh Jacobs, the T. Higgins, the Bucky Irvings, the guys that can be like true difference makers.
Can you scroll back down? There was a name I saw there that I kind of like. You said 35th overall?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Davante Adams still, even though the Matthew Stafford news is not the greatest in the world. We've seen Davante Adams double-digit targets last 3 years in a row, still late in his career. Yep. So,
and I don't know if you saw any clips from that joint practice that they did yesterday with Dallas, but Davante Adams was just torching the DBs down there. So it looks like he definitely has still got it. And our Adam Hutchinson, very few fears about Matthew Stafford, even with the back problem. I see 38 years old and back issues. I get scared off, but I blindly trust Adam when it comes to injury advice, and he has no fears. So here we are, Joey. Few picks out. Malik Neighbors, Puka Nacua still on the board. There goes Malik Neighbors. So Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brian Thomas Jr., Ashton Jinty, Devon Achane. I have been a pretty staunch Amon-Ra fader at cost, but whether we get Puka or Brian Thomas here, I feel okay with those. I don't even think it's crazy if you want to dip into Jinty or Achane, if you really prefer one of those two, if you want to get them and then just take the best available wide receiver. Amon-Ra St. Brown goes off the board. So I think Puka is the obvious one here. Like, we know Jimmy G can throw the short ball where Puka still operates. I'm not all that concerned. I feel like there's a nice little buy window right now as people are panicking about Stafford.
Yeah, I just shouted my love for Adams, but I would still much rather have Puka if I get to have a Rams wide receiver. So I'm totally fine taking him there. And fingers crossed one of those running backs falls to us.
Right. And I think, this person might start Jinty and Achane. Do you have a strong preference between those? And if this guy does start Jinty and Achane, Brian Thomas Jr. in the second, more than happy to do that too.
100%.
So they went Jinty here, and then A.J. Brown. So I think Devon Achane is a pretty obvious choice here, unless
that's what I like to do.
I do like Brian Thomas Jr. though. I'm fine with either of those picks. I'll let you make the choice here as our guy.
I'll take Achane.
All right, Achane.
We will take Achane.
We will take Achane. Yes, and for those unfamiliar, this draft is being hosted on Drafters right now. This is their $20 main event. Grand prize, $500,000 up top. So last year, Dan Hindery, our good friend and football guy staffer, won this contest and then also took 8th place in the same contest. So makes sense that we are now leaning heavy into the Drafters content this year after one of our staffers proved that he had the skeleton key to win it all.
He had the skeleton key to win it all, but still made me buy his drink and Vegas.
No,
I've made that
kidding.
joke
Did
like
he
6
really?
times. He did
Oh,
not. It's
that's
just
good.
really
Yeah,
fun to say
that's
because
good.
Dan's such a nice guy, and he won't get mad at me for saying it. At least he won't get mad to my face.
Oh,
So.
Dan really is the best. Last night we were up very, very late. I tweeted out "Burning the Midnight Oil" with Dan Henry and Jeff Bell last night. We recorded a 2.5-hour podcast starting after 8 p.m. So shout out those guys. Dad's out on the East Coast recording until almost 11 p.m. last night, but there's a lot of news to go through, and I think we touched on every major storyline from the first 2 weeks of training camp.
Gee, and did the Kyron news, had that come out by the time you guys recorded?
We broke the Keenan Allen news in the middle of the
Okay.
show. Like, so we
Oh,
were
wow,
recording late enough that when that like news broke late at night while a lot of people were sleeping, we were able, I saw the news come out when we were like 5 teams before the Los Angeles Chargers. So I was sitting on the news and was able to break that live. So
Nice.
when we went through team by team, but spent some time talking about that Keenan Allen edition. And I'm really interested to see where Keenan Allen goes in this one, because just 2 years ago, Keenan Allen had his best career year with Justin Herbert, and we saw last year still pulling a 27% target share, 11th best in the league. Keenan Allen still got some juice, and I want to see actionably here what happened. Ladd McConkey falls all the way to 21, which is pretty late to see Ladd McConkey, and we'll be interested to see Keenan Allen, who is kind of hanging in that like 16 to 18 round range. Wouldn't surprise me if we see him going like 12th or 13th today. That's
the question I was going to ask you, like, because I know you are a Trey Harris fan. This Keenan Allen news, does it hurt your love of Trey Harris or Ladd McConkey more?
I think Ladd McConkey is going to be just fine. I think that this does pour some cold water on Trey Harris, unfortunately. And if you look at it schematically, they play very different positions. Trey Harris can play more of that X role, and we see Ladd McConkey and Keenan Allen, they have overlapping qualities where they can both play out of the slot. But we did see later in the year, the Ladd McConkey took about 30% of his snaps out wide. So he can play the flanker, he could play the X, he could move everywhere. I think Keenan Allen does play primary slot role here. So I think the offense is really going to go through those two guys. I still like Trey Harris' long-term outlook, but it's really hard to justify Trey Harris and Quentin Johnston being usable now that they have 2 alphas on that offense.
You know what makes me love is Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
It's got 4 really good targets.
Absolutely. Yeah. And some rushing upside too, almost 30 yards per game over the second half of the season once that ankle healed up. We've got Adam here saying, "Hey, Dave. Hey, Joey.
What's up, Adam?"
Joey the other day, considering taking Lamb at the 103 position. I take Lamb at the 102 position. Yep. So I think 103, if you can get him there, is a great, great bargain.
My response to Adam was, let's catch that after our pick. And because I want to go back to that, because I did shout you out in my answer to him.
So we could throw Puka in here or Devontae Adams in here. I'm not, completely against doing the double stack if it works out that way. Breece Hall starting to get a little bit tepid on him, if I'm being honest, with the news of Braylon Allen coming out of Jets camp. Kyron Williams also, leaning into the Rams a little bit. Yeah, and I'm surprised. I thought he'd have gone a little bit earlier. $33 million for a running back is quite an investment, and we know that they trust him, but now they're putting their money where their mouth is. Looks like we're going to get one of Adams or Kyron. Are you okay with that, Joey, or would you like to look a little bit lower?
I might want to look a little lower. Maybe you talk me off the cliff with, we got Puka.
Adams.
That's going to be an easy pick for us. It's Kyron Williams. Yep.
Yeah, real easy. And then I like George Kittle with this 4th pick if he's still available. 100%. He is my tight end 1, and I understand Brock Bowers, Trey McBride. I know why people are drafting them where they are, but I just look at this decimated 49ers room right now, and I think that this offense is going to end up flowing through George Kittle. Also opens up a stacking opportunity for Brock Purdy, quarterback that I really like drafting a little bit later. Right now, Devon Achane, you can theoretically build in the Tua Tagovailoa stack there if you want to. That's not something I've been doing too much. But let's just say, hypothetically, if Kittle does go off the board here, I mean, when you're put up, DJ Moore. So I think that makes our choice pretty easy, right?
It really does. Yeah. If we weren't going Kittle, I was going to say let's wait almost 2 rounds because there's a tight end that you've really kind of turned me on to, and I've been drafting quite a bit the last couple of weeks.
Who's that?
Mark Andrews.
Oh, yeah, Mark Andrews, definitely warming up to him. I also like waiting until late, and walking away with like the Tucker Crafts, Colson Loveland, Tyler Warrens, some of those guys with really high upside. But yeah, Andrews definitely warming up to him, especially with that Isaiah Likely injury. Now, something I talked about when Jeff and I were doing this draft is, I think you want to play ADP to some extent in the early rounds, but something that I've been doing, Joey, when I'm picking from the end. So like right now, our next picks are going to be at 59 and 62. And then after that, our next pick is until 83. Basically what I'm doing when I'm on the board with these two picks, 59 and 62, is I will scroll all the way down to 83. And that's kind of my cutoff point where it's like, I can probably get these guys, but I would be willing to reach for the next picks. Not saying that I will specifically for these guys, but when you're picking at 59 or 62, you know that Matthew Golden and Isaiah Pacheco and Emeka Egbuka aren't going to make it back to you. Ricky Pearsall definitely is going to make it back to us. So I think that when you're picking from the edges, that's where I don't care quite as much about ADP. I just want to reach to get the guys that I want on my team. Because if you pick a guy at 62, hoping a guy's going to make it back to you at 83, that guy's never making it back to you at 83.
Never. Yeah, we were talking earlier in the show about the draft that I had the number 1 pick in, and I was having to take the players at the positions I needed when I needed them because no one was going to make it back. So I completely agree.
And that's the way to do it. Yeah. And also, when you're playing in these big tournaments, there's a lot of talk about uniqueness. And if you're just sitting there blindly, just hitting ADP with all of your picks, your teams are going to look like a lot of other teams out there where if you're willing to, reach that round for a player, it does, even if you are leaving a little bit of value bleed out in your build, I think you can make up for the value lost with some uniqueness.
Absolutely.
So Joey, we've had a fun day today. Give a little review here. You and I just wrapped up recording the Launchpad, which will come out on Friday morning, talking about your role at Football Guys a little bit, kind of what we expect for the future of Football Guys. And then, of course, as you would imagine, a 20-minute cinephile tangent where we talk about some of our favorite movies. That was a good time, though. Thank you for taking that time with me today.
No, it was a blast. And I'm glad we didn't prep me on the movie questions because I came from the heart of and some deep cuts there, like not normal stuff I normally talk about. So that was fun.
Yeah, I was on with Greg Branos a few days ago, and we were doing another best ball draft on a different platform, and he blindly asked me my top 5 movies, and I panicked. And it's so tough to come up with that off the top of your head because I feel like my favorite movies are so dependent on my mood. Like if I'm just sulky and sad, I'm going to have a different movie than I will on a day where I'm bubbly and happy and joyous, all right, well, let's start looking ahead here, Joey. A few picks out. DeAndre Swift, definitely like him. I'll throw him in the queue there, a guy who projects for a lot of value. Travion Henderson, drumbeat is getting deafening. Stephon Diggs starting to creep up draft boards a little bit. Ricky Pearsall is another pick that I like here. DeAndre Swift goes off the board. But Travion Henderson, Chris Olave, Roma Dunze, Ricky Pearsall, Stephon Diggs. Who jumps out to you?
I'm going to say Diggs. I really, the longer the offseason goes on, and you mentioned Adam Hutchinson earlier, having no concerns about Diggs, having a wide receiver 1. When we drafted another team recently, and we were taking wide receiver 1s on teams, and Stephon Diggs, wide receiver 1 on his team. So I like that. I wonder who's going to come to us next.
I almost feel, I like in a vacuum, Travion Henderson like him, RJ Harvey like him, but I do wonder if we need to force wide receiver here a little bit because I don't think we're getting many good wide receivers making it back to us at that 83. So Roma Dunze,
like what I'm hearing about Roma Dunze. I would prefer him over Pearsall right now. That's personally just me.
What about
Don't let me see Emeka Egbuka's name. Don't let me see it.
I'm okay taking Emeka Egbuka here. He's not making it back to us at 83, so I'm okay just taking him. Rashee Rice goes off the board. I mean, I'm fine with Egbuka. Totally. I'm not just saying that because you're a Bucs fan. I love Emeka Egbuka.
Between Odunze and Egbuka, who would you rather have?
I could pull up my rankings real quickly. I know they're close. My gut is telling me Egbuka, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, take Egbuka. I like the team a lot more.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up right now. I've got Emeka Egbuka as my wide receiver 30. I do like Pearsall better than both of them, but that's okay, Joey. But yeah, I have Egbuka ahead of Roma Dunze by exactly 1 spot. My wide receiver 37 and 38.
Okay.
Yeah, Ricky Pearsall is the one that, I don't know, I probably should chill on drafting him. We talked about it yesterday. A lot of the discussion that we had on last night, that 2.5-hour podcast that I mentioned with Jeff Bell and Dan Hindry, a lot of it was like, these players are raising in value. At what point do you stop chasing them up the board and say that's enough? We had that discussion about a lot of players, and Ricky Pearsall was one that we all kind of agreed, like, until he starts going in round 4, we're just going to keep drafting him. We're talking about a first-round player with off-the-charts athleticism on an offense that really needs it. I didn't think about it at the time, though, with us having George Kittle. I am okay sitting on Kittle without Pearsall. So in a vacuum, definitely would have preferred Ricky Pearsall, but we'll see also. I mean, he should be going off the board soon with that ADP, but a guy who's just been getting very, very good reviews out of 49ers camp so far.
Absolutely. So let me scroll up and see our team. I know we got 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, a tight end.
Yeah,
So
every time we're on the clock, it kind of jumps back up and covers up some of the board here. So let me just keep dropping this. Yeah, Puka Nacua, Devon Achane, Kyron Williams, George Kittle, Stephon Diggs, Emeka Egbuka. This is pretty standard for how I start. Lots of running backs, lots of wide receivers, not even looking at the quarterbacks in this range, but we'll occasionally sprinkle in a round 3 Trey McBride or a round 4 George Kittle. And when we just did our draft recently over on the NFFC, I believe we got a round 3 Trey McBride in that one, right?
We did take round 3 Trey McBride.
Yep.
And then we touched our quarterbacks in like round 16, 17. We're going to take it a little earlier today, but maybe not.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, if Baker falls below ADP, linking him up with Egbuka, I'd be happy with that. But I love right now that we have opportunities for both Drake May and Brock Purdy stacks, which
100%.
Looking at the value of those guys are 2 of my favorite quarterbacks to draft at cost. So we're seeing wide receivers really go off the board quick here. After our pick, Roma Dunze, Keenan Allen, or Keon Coleman, Jacoby Myers, Ricky Pearsall, Jerry Jeudy, Matthew Golden, and Juwan Jennings all get drafted as well. And now we are kind of in that area where Jordan Addison looking at a potential suspension, Jaden Reed, who we know is only playing the slot role there, Josh Downs, increased target competition, Khalil Shakir with the sprained ankle. It does dry up pretty quickly. We'll flip over to some of the running backs here. Isaiah Pacheco would be the primary guy that I would want here, who I think is just ridiculously undervalued right now. And of course, he goes off the board right after I say his name. Jordan Mason is a guy I've been warming up to quite a bit, as well as Jalen Warren. You can look at the quarterbacks here, but nope, not touching any of those guys. Looking at the wide receivers as well. I mean, we do only have 3 wide receivers through 6 rounds. I'll throw Jordan Addison, even with the 3-game suspension in the queue.
Well,
Khalil Shakir with the ankle sprain. What was that, Joey?
I was going to say, and this is not me being Bucks homer, but with Godwin, like, do you expect him to miss more or less games than 3 games with Jordan Addison? Because I'm not. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to miss some time, and I think that the return to play is going to be difficult with the ankle dislocation. But my biggest fear is that he gets pushed into an outside role if Egbuka takes over the slot. And what we've seen is that Chris Godwin, when he's playing as the slot, he's a top 5 receiver in fantasy. When he's playing as an outside receiver, he's a boomer bust wide receiver 5. So just so reliant on his role. Khalil Shakir is a guy that getting pushed down a little bit because of the fear about his ankle sprain. But again, Adam Hutchinson said that that's a injury that really impacts running backs much more than it impacts wide receivers. I'd be happy with Shakir here. We could flip over, look at some of the running backs as well. I feel like this is a pretty flat tier throughout here. Are you cool with Shakir?
I want Shakir. Yeah, I would rather have Shakir over Pittman because I'm not exactly sure if I like Pittman or Josh Downs better at this point as the wide receiver 1 there in Indianapolis. But as far as the Bills go, I expect Shakir to probably be the wide receiver 1 there. As much as I love Joshua Palmer, it's not happening, Joey.
I like Jeff in the comments here saying that we should mention somebody that we don't want in case someone is lurking in this draft. Little reverse psychology here, man. I really, really hope Rashard Smith makes it back to us here at 86. All right, let's start looking, though. Pittman and Downs would both make sense. Any of these running backs, though, jump out to you especially? This definitely feels like the dead zone.
It does. And I feel like if you're pretty much on even ground with all 4 of those running backs, I do feel pretty comfortable one of them getting back to us. And if the consolation prize, all 4 of them are gone and J.K. Dobbins is still there, okay, I'll have Dobbins.
And that's it for me. Like J.K. Dobbins, Zach Charbonnet, Tyrone Tracy, I have those guys in the same tier as these guys going off the board now. So I'm more than happy to just wait until we get to these.
Yeah, let's take another wide receiver.
Pittman or Downs, do either of them tickle your fancy? Maybe Jaden Higgins, Rashid Shaheed?
When Michael Pittman's been good and on the field, he's looked great. Let's go with Pittman. Downs has had these like breakout games, but they're so few and far between. I just don't have enough full data there to trust it.
I also think that so much of what Josh Downs did was near the line of scrimmage, on those short little passes that allowed him to create after the catch. And I think a lot of that work could go to Tyler Warren this year, where Michael Pittman does play a little bit further downfield, more across the middle of the field. I think that could help him a little bit. And a fun fact with Michael Pittman, 10th in the league in targets over the last 2 years. I mean, it's just crazy. I've dropped this stat a few times, but when you look, it's all the guys that you would expect, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, all of these like superstar receivers. And then Michael Pittman just sneaks in at the 10th spot there. So when he's on the field, very dominant player. And this is a guy who was getting drafted last year as, I believe, the wide receiver 17, and then suffers a back injury, loses most of the year to injury. And now we just get him as the wide receiver 40-something off the board. So just a huge, huge change in how the public perceives Michael Pittman now. So we talked about it with these next rounds coming up. There is so much good running back value there. But we could also start looking at some of the quarterbacks, Kyler Murray, Bo Nix, Dak Prescott, Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, much cheaper on this platform than he is on others, and that would help us with the Ibuka stack. So he'd have to fall a few spots below ADP, but I'm going to throw both these guys in.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and throw Drake May in that conversation as well. Wouldn't surprise me if we have our choice of all three of these guys with our next pick. But then looking at some of the running backs, Jaylen Warren is a guy I'm warming up to. You talked about J.K. Dobbins as a consolation prize. I think that Zach Charbonnet would be another good. These are guys with maybe a little bit of standalone value, but you're mostly drafting them for the contingent upside. But I think we're going to have a lot of options to choose from when we get to these next two picks.
So you didn't click on ETN. Do you have a feel on who you like best in Jacksonville? Is that why you didn't click on him, or just no feel to it?
I do like Tank Bigsby a lot. I'm warming up to Tank Bigsby. I've moved him ahead of Travis Etienne in my rankings. That being said, there's contingent upside for Etienne. If Tank Bigsby gets hurt, there's also rumors that Etienne could be a potential trade candidate, in which case he could land in a better, less crowded running back room. And then even worst case scenario, if he just stays in Jacksonville, we saw last year Rachaad White, even when he got kind of squeezed out by Bucky Irving, was still pulling nearly 5 targets a game. I think that there's still, and that was while Rachaad White was injured, I want to mention as well. So I think that even if Tank Bigsby takes over as the RB1, I think that Travis Etienne is still going to be plenty involved as a pass catcher and can still give you some value in fantasy.
Absolutely. And you know how much you mentioned Rachaad White. He's my most drafted player this year. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but the way Liam Cohen runs his offenses with the running backs, it benefits you to have more than one.
Did somebody take Rachaad White already? Oh, there he is. There he is. 146. Down. So we're picking.
Oh boy, he's deep.
We'll target him right here. And somebody watching this show. Actually, no, we jumped in this one as the 12th person. So there's nobody that is in this draft that is watching this stream right now. So we can say whatever we want. We can show all of our cards. But yeah, I think this 131, 134 with those picks with an ADP of 146, I think we could probably get Rachaad White there.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty good about this. And we've still got 3 of the quarterbacks that we want on the board. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Both of these guys picking ahead of us, they each have a quarterback, so we'll see if they start dipping it into that QB2 bucket yet. But Joey, if we are able to walk away with 2 quarterbacks here, I mean, I think I'm okay doing that. Purdy and May wouldn't be ideal since they have overlapping bye weeks, but Baker and one of those guys, I'd be fine with a 2 quarterback build at that point.
You know me, I like to wait late on quarterbacks and double tap. I like to take 2. And Baker Mayfield. Up until I got scared. I saw red, but it was Caleb, so we're okay. Yeah, please take Baker. Up until the Tristan Wirfs news, Baker Mayfield was my QB5 going into drafts this season. I had him really high. And the Wirfs news, that backs him up a little bit. That's kind of why I said I've liked Rachaad White a lot more. I expect Baker to check down a lot more to start the season. But once Wirfs is back, we've seen Baker Mayfield put up great numbers every week. So I love getting Baker. And I've got the jersey, so that's always fun.
So Tomahawk Dog here. All right, we're going to get at least one of these guys. So now the question is, who do we prefer, Brock Purdy or Drake May? I'll let you make the decision here, Joey.
Brock Purdy. Take the moment, Dave. Sell me on Drake May. I just can't do it. I'm just not there.
Well, I just recorded with Alfredo Brown this morning, and he talked about Drake May as one of his favorite guys. And basically the picture that he painted, it's kind of easy to get behind, is that last year, Drake May was the per game QB 14 in games that he started. Right now, he's getting drafted as the QB 14 in a much improved situation. So it seems like last year on this very bad Gerard Mayo. Why am I drawing a blank? Was it Alex Van Pelt was their offensive coordinator last year, and now we expect to be a little bit better with Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels, and of course Stephon Diggs and Travion Henderson. He's got new weapons around him, a better system. So when you're drafting him and you're asking him basically at cost to just do what he did last year, and if he grows at all from what he did last year, then you're just looking at a guy who's going to outperform his ADP. This was actually shocking, and I had to fact check Alfredo on it because I almost didn't believe it. Drake May had more rushing yards per game than Josh Allen did last year. I mean, he's a guy who,
Really? That's a fun
Joey,
stat.
yeah, sneaky athlete, maybe. A real gym rat, a real scrappy rusher.
Scrappy.
So Drake May goes off the board just a few picks after us. I think that the way this worked out with us getting Stephon Diggs, us getting George Kittle, and then hitting Baker Mayfield and Brock Purdy, feel real good about those two quarterbacks. And I will say, in the accumulative scoring in 20 rounds, 3 quarterback builds are attractive. And I think that if we can get like a really cheap third quarterback to sprinkle in here, I'd be open to it. But, getting these two, I feel confident with this as a 2 quarterback build, which just leaves more picks for us late that we can use on these high upside contingency injury away running backs.
100%. Let's look at those running backs. So there's some did Braylon Allen go? Because there's been some pretty positive news coming out about Braylon Allen that he is going to get work.
I might have to control F this. No, Braylon Allen's still on the board, and yeah, he's a guy that has moved way, way up my rankings. I am buying into that. Fun fact, I got a lot of fun facts for you, Joey, at this point in the year. Braylon Allen was 20 years old last year, and if you just see a picture of him last year compared to this year, he turned into a grown man. Like, he was not fully filled out last year. He looks like he's put on about 20 pounds of muscle. So we knew, a good athlete coming in, but still very raw last year. I think that Braylon Allen definitely still has his best days ahead of him.
Okay.
So there's a lot of running backs I like in this range. I mean, I could just sell you on any of these guys. Ray Davis, of course. Isaac Orendo worries me a little bit with a shoulder injury, but Rachaad White, I've got him atop the queue with us having Baker, us having Emeka Egbuka. I think that makes a ton of sense to get Rachaad White here. Trey Benson is another guy that we're starting to hear some good word about. Dylan Sampson, with Quinshon Judkins uncertainty. I'll throw Isaac Orendo in here just in case it's kind of a last ditch effort, but Rachaad White, the very easy selection here. And then I'd love if we get Ray Davis with our next pick too. Ray Davis, man, he got 1 start last year when James Cook missed time, and he had 23 touches and 152 yards in that game. James Cook right now with the holding, he's at practice, but they asked him why he didn't practice, and his response was business.
Grab Ray Davis. Love it.
Ooh, Joey, this one is working out nice.
It's nice.
I'm feeling good about this one. I am feeling good. This could be the one. This could be the $500,000 winner. Let's run through this real quickly. Puka Nacua, Devon Achane, Kyron Williams, George Kittle, Stephon Diggs, Emeka Egbuka, Khalil Shakir, Michael Pittman, Baker Mayfield, Brock Purdy, Rachaad White, and Ray Davis. Don't you love it when a plan comes together?
I love it, Dave.
We've got anywhere we can go now. I mean, we've got our elite tight end. We've got 2 good quarterbacks. We have a stacked wide receiver room. We've got Kyron Williams and Devon Achane, kind of the double hero RB there. But we also have some contingency guys with potential standalone value here. We're not in any need. With this next pick coming up, 155, we could take a QB3. We could take a tight end 2. We can add depth to our running back or wide receiver room. This is nice. Always feel good when you're at this point in the draft and you've checked off every box.
This might be one of I just feel good about this team. Like, I'm not like, okay, well, definitely got to go wide receiver in this next round. Like, our options are open, so I like that. Let's look at tight end. We've not really talked about tight ends very much. Oh,
real quick, Jeff Bolton here saying, Joey, hope to meet you in Akron this weekend. I do plan to attend the panel that you will be speaking at on Sunday. No, I will not be there, unfortunately, but Joey will. Akron, it's in Canton, pretty close, only about 40 minutes away, but want to make sure you're going to the right DoubleTree.
Jeff, let me tell you, if you're in Akron and you've got a little extra time, go to the zoo in Akron.
Really?
Fantastic zoo. Doesn't cost a lot of money, and it's a small zoo, but they play the hits. Grizzly bear, tiger, lion, like no filler animals, the Akron Zoo. Not a lot of animals, but just all bangers. And they've all got a lot of room. I like when I see that at a zoo.
So I don't have any kids, so you wouldn't think that a 35-year-old would be going to a zoo, but oh my goodness, have you heard of the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, Joey? It's in Colorado Springs.
Mhm. I've not been.
Unbelievable. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Next time you come out here, you have to do it. Best zoo I've ever been to in my life. You get to feed giraffes, you get to feed rhinos, you get to feed elephants. I mean, it is amazing. You get to go right up to them and just touch these wild animals. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. I am not a zoo guy. My wife isn't either. You know, she loves animals. She thinks there's a lot of like animal cruelty, but they put big incentives here into like rehabilitating animals and then re-releasing them into the wild. So it's also like a very eco-friendly zoo. Cannot recommend it enough. Like if you're in Colorado for whatever reason, anybody listening to the show, the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, Colorado Springs is amazing.
All right, I'll check that out. But Jeff, yeah, definitely come up to me. Don't be shy. I'm
Sorry, Jeff.
definitely not shy.
Jeff, like, hey, hoping to meet you, Joey. And I'm like, have you heard about this zoo in Colorado?
Yeah, sorry. No, Jeff, definitely. Please come up, say hello. And I'll say this, Jeff. If I'm like, don't, because when you had your picture up there, there was no picture. So you got to say your full name and then I'll know who you are. But if you say I'm Jeff, you got one of the most popular names at the expo, buddy. I hate to break it to you. There's a lot of Jeffs there. There's actually a group that meets up to have lunch.
This is good. Jeff will be in Canton. He is going to the right place. So glad we were.
I'll be driving through Akron. I've got to bring some seafood to the expo. Picking some seafood up at the Cleveland airport, taking it in with me. If anybody catches my drift,
I will say, it's a weird, like nobody listening to the show is going to be able to relate to this problem that I'm going to tell you, but Joey, you will get it. Having a front-facing job in this industry, it lends to such weird dynamics at the Fantasy Football Expo because, you know, people recognize our faces because we're on streams and faces out on Twitter and stuff like that. And a lot of people will come up and just no introduction, just start talking to you and they'll know about your life. And, you know, it'll just be a random person walking up and, hey, Dave, how you doing? How's your wife doing? I saw your dog was sick. And they know everything about my life. So I will say that if you're going to introduce yourself to somebody, take that step to introduce and say like, hi, I am blank, or it is just a weird dynamic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like I said, not something that a lot of people can relate to, but something that Joey, I saw you laughing, and I know you can't relate to it. It's fun though, man. We love it getting to meet people. All right, let's flip over to tight ends real quickly. Hunter Henry. We've already got Stephon Diggs, so I don't think we want to go that route. Mason Taylor, been really warming up to him quite a bit.
Yeah,
ADP of
click on Mason Taylor.
ADP of 182, so he's definitely not making it back into us in this 179. He's going ahead of ADP. I've got Garendo, who I mean, people are definitely concerned. ADP of 138, and he's still on the board here at 154. I think, who do you prefer here, Garendo or Braylon Allen?
We're this late in the draft. If Garendo starts the season off a little injured, I'm okay with that because we don't really need him yet. We might need him at the end of the season, so I'm fine tapping Garendo.
That's kind of where I'm at too. And we've got Brock Purdy, we've got George Kittle. Like this is just a stronger investment. And in a world where theoretically Christian McCaffrey doesn't play for whatever reason, not only is Garendo getting a huge boost, but George Kittle is going to get a huge boost as well. So we have set ourselves up with this draft that if CMC misses any time, this is going to be a lot of points going to the San Francisco players we have on our roster.
I'm going to be watching some 4:00 49ers games this year. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think I'm going to put Mason Taylor ahead of Braylon Allen. As crazy as that sounds, we are just so flush with running backs already. Or I just feel like the problem is if we wait on tight end too.
Double check just what our bye week is on our tight end.
George Kittle's tight end is 14. Mason Taylor's 9. So you think Mason Taylor over Braylon Allen here?
Yep.
I know it sounds crazy, but given our build, I think that we can afford to take some risks here and reach on ADP. And I think Mason Taylor is one of those guys that is just abhorrently mispriced right now. You know, we're hearing it right now. He's going to be the number 2 option. I don't see any other world where Josh Reynolds or Alan Lazard step up into a meaningful role. And we saw that Cole Kmet was a top 10 tight end with Justin Fields. So Mason Taylor, man, just such a good player. And I'm really happy that he's making these early splashes in camp.
Yeah, I used to say, and I still kind of do that, I love a rookie quarterback when they have a tight end. But now it's kind of like if you've got a rushing quarterback, for some reason the tight ends seem to pair well with them.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
getting Mason Taylor, even though we don't have Justin Fields, I think he's definitely going to get work.
So we got Jeff here. Jeff, I'm sorry I skipped over your question earlier. I think there was a typo. Instead of VBD, you said CBD, and I was like, we don't promote that on the show. Here we got it. Question I asked earlier: do you ever utilize some of the tools provided by Football Guys Draft, like the Draft Dominator or VBD? Amazing tools, and I cannot, I can't hype them up enough. I like to think that I kind of have an algorithmic brain that can work through this. I've done hundreds of drafts, so I personally do not use the tools. I did a lot when I was younger as a consumer. I've been a Football Guy subscriber since I was 16 years old, but at this point, I do like to just kind of keep it in my head as much as possible, more than using the tools. I know that's like not the best approach for what I should be saying as somebody who works for the company, but I do a few hundred drafts a year, and I really like kind of exercising my brain in these drafts.
One of my favorite things is to blind draft and then go to rate my team and see if I take spin.
Yes.
Because there's nothing feels better than if you get an A and you blind drafted. And if you get an F, you can just be like, I blind drafted. I probably should have had the tools in front of me. But if you get an A and you did it blind, boy, you're walking high the rest of the day.
Yeah. And I've been plugging the Rate My Team tool a lot on different shows and whatnot. People are like, hey, what do you have coming out? And I'm just telling everyone, check out the Rate My Team tool. We put in so much work into completely reshaping this. It's a tool that I think a lot of people probably found Football Guys because of. They did the Rate My Team feature. I want to say it was about 15 years ago. And I know that's how I initially stumbled across Football Guys. But we have completely reshaping it this year. And there's just so many valuable insights that it'll give you as far as like looking ahead. Like your quarterback has a bye on this week, and these quarterbacks have the best matchups on this week. So just helping you get some of the best insights you can. Of course, we love just like knowing the A through F is really nice and valuable, but some of the extra insights as to like players you can pick up that complement your player as well. Just a great tool.
Absolutely.
All right, Joey, a few picks out. Braylon Allen went off the board very shortly after our pick here with 167. Bashal Tootin, man, still holding on to some steam here, which I'm a little bit surprised to see. Let's go ahead and flip over to the quarterbacks real quickly. Matthew Stafford tumbling a little bit below ADP. We've already got Baker Mayfield and Brock Purdy.
I feel like we got safe quarterbacks. Did Anthony? Oh, he went. Anthony Richardson went. I was going to say
he's been going a lot earlier. Yeah, he's been a guy that I've been tacking on late. But these are also Baker Mayfield, Brock Purdy. They are safe over season long, but they're kind of volatile weekly because they don't have the rushing floor that insulates their value. So I don't know how you'd feel about it, but I'd be okay taking Matthew Stafford with this next pick.
I mean, pairs with Puka. So yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's go ahead and sprinkle him in there. We can look at some of the wide receivers.
If we don't get him, there is a quarterback that I like taking in the very last round if he's there, because I feel really fine with our two quarterbacks. It would need to be an injury to go down for there to be something detrimental to happen to those two. But we'll see. If Stafford goes, there's a quarterback I like with our last pick.
Ooh, I'm going to throw Woody Marks in there.
Woody Marks, that's fun.
Surprised to see him still on the board. Matthew Stafford sniped by a pick. Let's go Woody Marks with this one.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I'm glad you put Wan'Dale Robinson in there. Just like a target monster.
So overlooked this year. Yeah. Like it's crazy. We had 140 something or 120 something. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
I think 104 targets last year.
No, it was even more than that.
Was it?
This up real quickly. Keep talking while I filibuster.
Well, right now we have one. We should click on Wan'Dale Robinson because we both like him a lot. So yeah, there it is.
My guess was 140. Yeah, 140. 140 targets last year. He only caught 93 of them and only had less than 800 yards, but I do kind of, we overthink so much this time of year. And I don't know if I've bounced this take off you yet, Joey. Maybe I'm galaxy braining this a little bit, but Tyrone Tracy, converted wide receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson was in this role last year where he worked as the underneath target and was peppered with targets and gave us one of the most inefficient seasons we've ever seen. What if they take Cam Scatterbu, this guy who is a very prototypical, traditional running back, they use him as the running back and they just say, hey, Tracy, we know you could play wide receiver. You step into that Wan'Dale Robinson, you could potentially be getting a running back, seeing 100+ targets. That has been my big selling point on Tyrone Tracy this year.
And like Darren Sproles all over again.
Yeah, really. All right, so continuing to just keep this one nice and balanced. I'm really, really happy with the way this one is turning out. Now let's start looking at some of the high upside guys that we'll sprinkle in a little bit later. We only have 4 rounds left here. And let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 receivers. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 running backs. So maybe we do, 2-8-8-2 build here. We could do a 2-7-9-2. There's a lot of different ways that we can go with this one. Taj Brooks off the board was just the easiest last round pick to make, and people are finally starting to wisen up to that one a little bit. Rashard Smith is scaring me. I don't know if you've seen this, Joey.
Go ahead.
Sounds like he's not going to make much of an impact this year. It sounds like he is struggling to get up to speed. He is a converted player as well. He was a wide receiver and talks about how he is kind of struggling with pass protection and the speed of the NFL. So a guy I really liked earlier that I'm getting a little bit scared off of. This is a good insight too. Blake Corum. I want to call this out real quickly. Of course, we already got Kyron Williams, and Jarquez Hunter has been getting drafted way ahead of Blake Corum. Our Jeff Bell, who does the Los Angeles Rams training camp reports for us over at Football Guys, has said that Blake Corum is still the number 2. And if you think about it, Blake Corum was a 2nd-round pick. Jarquez Hunter was a day 3 pick. People always get so enamored by the shiny toys, but it sounds like Blake Corum is still the next guy up. If Kyron Williams misses any time, Blake Corum is going to step into that role, not Jarquez Hunter. So I'd be happy to sprinkle him in here. Kyle Monangai also sounds like he's taking over the RB2 duties in Chicago. These would be my 2 major targets here, unless there's anybody else that really jumps out to you.
I like Marshawn Lloyd, but not yet. Sean Tucker, somebody I like taking late. We've seen what that Buccaneers backfield looks like if one of them goes down. The other one just slots right in. And Rachaad White's so if Bucky gets hurt, I don't see Rachaad White just jumping up and getting a bunch of work. I think Sean Tucker just jumps up and goes to the Bucky role.
So I'm also going to throw Jordan Whittington in here, a guy who doesn't get drafted in a lot of drafts, but I almost see him as a Puka Nacua handcuff. Last year, got almost no work at all. All right, do we want to go Kyle Monangai here?
Monangai, yeah.
So almost no work for Jordan Whittington last year when Puka Nacua was healthy, but in the 2 games that Puka Nacua missed, Jordan Whittington basically stepped right into his role, ran all the same routes, got all of the same usage. So it's kind of weird. Like if you draft him, you know that there's 0 projectable volume there. But if Puka Nacua misses anytime, who we spent our 1st-round pick in, Jordan Whittington kind of gives you this like 80% of Puka Nacua type of player.
There was a period of time where Whittington was going pretty high. And not even, I should say best ball, but just like
dynasty for sure,
getting traded around. And then Devontae Adams came in and nobody was interested anymore. And it's like, well, I'm not really sure Adams hurts his value that much. So
what about this? Let's hold off. What do you think about Torrey Horton? Can I sell you? I'll sell you on Torrey Horton.
Sell me on him. Go ahead.
Day 3 wide receivers are usually not something that I want to invest in all that much. He fell because of injury concerns. He tore his LCL last year and tore his hamstring off the bone. That happened in October, where a lot of people are going to be looking at like a full year recovery. He, after tearing his hamstring off the bone, went to the NFL Combine in March, just 5 months later, and ran a 4.41. And then, of course, he fell because of medical concerns, but he has already beat out Marquez Valdes-Scantling on the depth chart in Seattle. So right now, if you look at the pecking order there, we've got JSN, who can move around the formation a little bit. He does his best work out of the slot, but he could play out wide. You've got Cooper Kupp, who is similar to JSN. He's a little versatile piece, but there's really only one true X receiver in this offense, and it's Torrey Horton. And last year, Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, he was the offensive coordinator of the New Orleans Saints. Rashid Shaheed played that X receiver role early in the season, and we saw how explosive that was. After Rashid Shaheed got injured, they went out and they traded for Marquez Valdes-Scantling mid-season. And Marquez Valdes-Scantling had a 3-week stretch where he had 232 yards and 4 touchdowns before he got a little bit nicked up. So then Clint Kubiak goes over to Seattle. They sign Marquez Valdes-Scantling to be that X receiver that he was in the offense last year in New Orleans. Then they go out and they spend a day 3 pick on Torrey Horton, who I thought should have been a round 2 draft pick, fell because of injury concerns. And now we're 2 weeks into camp and already getting word that Horton has beaten out MVS for that role. Torrey Horton is going to be on the field all the time. And if Cooper Kupp gets hurt, all right. And
you sold me, but I was in before you even had to sell me because I was talking about that quarterback I like in the last round.
All right.
It's just fun. It's fun. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm in for sprinkling in a final round Jalen Milroe, and then hopefully we get one of either Blake Corum or Jordan Whittington. I'd be happy with either of those guys.
Absolutely.
But
This team's great, man. I like it a lot.
Torrey Horton, man, one of my favorite players. Just did you see the clip I shared a few days ago where he had this catch that was just a terribly thrown ball, and it was like it was an interception, like going right into a defender's hands, and the way that Torrey Horton was able to reach over a defender, pull the ball out of his hands, and then turn around and get his feet down for a touchdown. I mean, he is a special talent, but he played in the Mountain West Conference on a CSU team, and he battled a lot of injuries throughout college. I truly think he is a round 2 talent that just because he went to a small school and because he dealt with injuries fell in the draft. But man, if Cooper Kupp gets hurt, he's number 2 on that team in targets easily.
Yep.
Well,
I think Vegas has
for the draft strategy and stay for the 5-minute Torrey Horton tangents.
Hey, you got to get it somewhere. I think Vegas actually has Seattle finished second in that division this season.
Yeah. So Jeff Bell and I have talked about that a lot. Like they have been clowned on all offseason by so many pundits out there, but I secretly kind of like what they've done.
Mm-hmm.
All right, a couple of picks out here, Joey. So if we have our choice of all 3 of these guys, what order would you like to see this in? Blake Corum atop, I think, assuredly, and then we'll move Jalen Milroe ahead of Jordan Whittington. Is that kind of how we're looking at this one?
Yeah.
Cool. I like that quite a bit. We'll see how these last 2 picks shake out, and then we'll zoom out, take a look at the whole board, and kind of talk about the team a little bit more here. But Blake Corum at the end of round 19, that is crazy to me that he is still on the board. We see this all the time. These year 1 guys that don't do much at all and then just explode in year 2. And Blake Corum just getting, I mean, this every player that we have wanted has just fallen into our lap in this draft. This is how you do it.
I mean, Jamar Chase did not fall to 11th.
Yes.
Let's correct ourselves there.
That would have been nice. But like even Puka Nacua at 11 is a great value. And then following that up with Devon Achane at 2, Kyron Williams in the 3rd, George Kittle in the 4th. This is nice, man. This is, as they say, this could be the one.
We're gonna join the 500 club with Dan.
maybe, and
at our own special room in Vegas next year. This would be great.
And then we could have Dan pay for our drinks.
Yeah, take
Jalen Milroe to close.
That's so much fun. Look at that.
Woo! Yeah, I like this one a lot. I thought I could copy that, but I guess I have to wait till it's over. But we'll just take a look at this one. Oop, not back to the lobby. That's not where I want to go. I want to go here. All right, so let's I mean, we liked it during the draft. But yeah, just the way that worked out, I couldn't be happier with this. This is the 7th one of these teams that I have drafted in this main event that they're doing. And Joey, I'm not just blowing smoke because you're my guest and you're my friend. This is without a doubt my favorite team that I've drafted so far in this tournament.
I love the team, and I love how many times you've said I'm your friend today. I've recorded. I'm glad both of those episodes recorded because you've said it quite a few times.
We did, yeah. We had a good little love fest on the launch pad earlier.
Yeah, and then Kyron Williams. Listen, I'm just ready just to eat crow. For 3 years, I'm just like, nope, sorry. It's just not going to happen. You know what? It's happened, and they paid him as he should be. So I need to move Kyron Williams up in my rankings. So getting him as our RB2, I'm ecstatic about.
Did you see my tweet yesterday, Joey, where I said a quick message to all of the people who told me I was a fool for fading Kyron Williams over the years? Did you see what my message was?
No.
I'm stupid. You're smart. I was wrong. You were right.
Right.
You're the best. I'm the worst. You're very good looking. I'm not attractive.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I have eaten crow on that one. But, you win some and you lose some. And I will say this offseason, I had finally come around to Kyron Williams even before the extension because I was able to look beyond the numbers and sure, the efficiency metrics aren't great, but the value that Kyron Williams brings to this team is his versatility. And that's something that can't show up in a spreadsheet, but they are able to stay in 11 personnel with Kyron Williams out in the field. They aren't tipping their hand at the defense, whether they're going to run the ball or pass the ball. He's fantastic in pass pro. He can catch the ball. He can move piles. He can do it at the goal line. So sure, we can get bogged down with the rushing yards over expectation per attempt and all the nerdy stats, but at the end of the day, Sean McVay decided that he was worth $33 million. And that tells me a lot more than the spreadsheet numbers will. So again, one more time, we'll just flip over to this draft board for anybody that wants to take a look here, but couldn't be happier with how this one turned out. As you can see on the bottom of the screen, new users can use promo code FootballGuys to get a 100% deposit match up to $100 if you are not playing on Drafters right now. Going to keep doing these drafts every week between now and NFL kickoff Wednesday at 2 p.m. So thank y'all so much for tuning in this week. And we'll see you again next week.